let's welcome to the stage Gaurav Mahajan, the CEO of Lifestyle at Landmark Group, Santosh John Thomas, the CIO, African and Eastern. We have Piyush Chauhan, the CIO of Panda Retail. We have Niels Floors, the VP of Channel Engine. And to moderate the session is Navin Joshua, founder, director of GreenHonchos. Ladies and gentlemen, your panel. And panel, can I ask you variously to sit underneath your photographs behind you, just to make sure you're all in the right spot, so if we want to blame somebody, we get the right person to blame. I'm joking. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good session.
Yep, I'll just set some quick context. Thanks, everyone. We just probably have 25 minutes. We're talking about customer experience, very vast word encompassing at least 4 or 5 areas of digital commerce as well as unified commerce when it comes to primarily offline. So yeah, I'll just take 1 minute probably, and then we've got more experienced folks to talk about this. But really, many a times when you think about customer experience, you're really thinking about the front end. But the actual unification of the back end and the front end is what delivers great customer experience. So we've got a very diverse panel talking about this. One of the words spoken here by Gaurav was discovery. And the number one thing is to be available and to actually manage the experience wherever you're being searched for. So even discovery needs to be unified as an experience. Then there's obviously merchandise and assortment. And who better than Niels here to talk about that, empowering the omni-channel enablement of the actual catalog exposure itself for better seamless experience. Then we talk about a seamless experience across channels as well as devices. So we've got more panelists talking about that through this. And then obviously omni-channel communication to the consumer across formats. It could be returns, it could be loyalty, it could be notifications, and then the entire post-purchase experience as well across channels. So the way we look at it is customer experience is not only when we interact with the customer, but what goes behind it in enabling that experience. So over to the panelists. I think we'll bring in Niels on my right here first. We can just revert to anything. Yeah. So Niels, we were talking about more of this. I'd love for you to come in and talk about how Channel Engine as well has been looking at this, especially in the region, and what kind of challenges you're seeing, and how close are you from the back end to be able to get brands closer to their customer?
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, we at Channel Engine, we look at, let's say, more of the third-party sales channels, right? External sales channels, that's also part of the customer experience, where your brand is expected to be, on all those channels. And we're looking at marketplaces, social commerce channels, or anything that's changing into a marketplace model, right? So, and the trends that are happening in the region is marketplaces are, of course, dominating with getting the traffic on their platforms, getting or big retailers turning into marketplaces, or the social channels that also have a lot of FaceTime with the consumers of all ages, right? That are also turning into a transactional model there. So managing all those different channels, and then also from from one central system into your back end, into your traditional flows, because changing all of the flows within your warehouses, within your operational systems, within your other digital touch points that you have with your customers, you don't want to modify those too much. You want to adapt to them. And well, that's what we focus on, of course, with as much automation as possible, to make sure that you can adopt and enable new channels, but also focus more on growth, give the business the control, and hopefully, let's say, you can do it with the same IT resources that you have internally as well, to be able to manage all these different diverse channels out there, because they're all different, of course, and they all set different expectations and SLAs that you have to adhere to.
Excellent, thanks for that. Gaurav, I'll bring you in because it's a continuing thought here. As a traditionally offline brand and business, and I've known to have witnessed you having a crazy customer obsession throughout, keeping the customer at the center. And when the digital wave is also coming, it's very important for brands to really figure out which game to play, how the DNA of the organization, brand, and the product is. Are you seeing different cohorts, or are there intersections between the consumer as they walk into the store versus access you digitally?
So, Naveen, obviously, what you've touched upon is the dilemma of a brand that's rooted in the brick and mortar world, and how you present yourself online is always an important question. I think one critical point that all organizations and brands, and more importantly brands, contend with is that customers today are seamless. They operate on the online stroke social, on digital channels as well as the physical channels very seamlessly. You'll have customers coming into your stores. While they are in the store, they are surfing. Before they come into the store, they are surfing. And, purchase can happen at any point, but the consideration, awareness, decision can happen anywhere across this seamless spectrum. And I think the important thing for brands is to remain and maintain their integrity across these channels, because the playbook, the rule book of how business and commerce operates on the online channels, rightly or wrongly, is a bit different from the brick and mortar world. It's important for brands to maintain their integrity. Now, there are various strategies. There are brands out there who've morphed themselves to create a different identity to be able to address the online commerce and the way that world operates. The consumers are usually different, not necessarily that the same people don't operate on both channels, but you will see a younger, more digital savvy audience extending itself to commerce in the online world, and perhaps a more traditional audience operating in the brick and mortar world. And you don't want to have a split identity of your brand, and yet you want to engage. So I think that's a conundrum that most brands are dealing with. Going onto a marketplace means, in order to deal with the pace of the marketplace, the discounting dynamics, the range width, for example. The online channel is all about width, multiplicity of choice. In the brick and mortar world, it's about cogent, keeping it tight and cogent. And, these are, obviously there is a conflict. But how to manage that conflict is, I think, what most brands are dealing with. And I think there are many in the international stage and even here who are bridging that chasm very successfully. Many come to mind, but yeah, it's something that is top of mind for almost every brand.
Thanks for that. Santosh, I'll bring you in. Now you represent an interesting category. Working with you, we've learned it better, called the alco-bev space. In your context, there are obviously very different challenges. And when we come to Piyush, we'll also talk about grocery as a category, which has a completely different nuance to it. But are certain categories more adept for omni-channel, given regulations and many other aspects? Unlike fashion, how are you seeing the consumer at the center accessing multiple channels and platforms of experience?
Good afternoon, everybody. I represent a category called the alco-bev industry, which is a drinks industry. So we are in a bit of a unique situation. Unlike when you talk about a grocery or talk about the luxury brands, it's a bit of a different scenario which we are in. So even though I'm a big philosopher of omni-channel, unfortunately in our line of business that doesn't exist because of the regulations in this part of the world. So indeed, the commerce platform is totally different from our brick and mortar platform. So brick and mortar, trust me, while I'm talking to you guys today, we are seeing an exponential growth as we are talking. Just now today we opened up the new store in Dara City Center. So brick and mortar is just going haywire for us. But it's not the same situation for us in the e-commerce platform. The reason being, the choice for the customer comes to the drinks industry, it's a bit different. People want to come and just trying to understand, hey, what is this wine is all about? Is it something which we can have with this particular type of food, or is it something which is sweet? And so those kind of tasting notes, which is totally not available on the online channel, people want to have a face-to-face conversation. So as a result, we started investing more and more in the brick and mortar, and our store line of business is actually increasing. But the same case is not applicable for our online business, where in the online side, the choice of the products is also a bit of less over there. But hey, once you have got your license, yeah, it's an easy conversation. You can get into the site and you can buy the product. What we see from our side is more about customer convenience. The choice is already made. It is already decided that what you're going to have for tonight, for the party, it has all been decided. So you just need to get, how soon can I get the product on my house? So it's all about the convenience and the last mile delivery for us when it comes to the online platform, whereas comes to the brick and mortar, it's all about to understand more about the products. So omni-channel, as a philosophy, I do believe in. So we are trying to have omni-channel presence in our different brick and mortar stores, both in the different geographical regions within UAE. But online, yeah, it's a long journey for us. We have yet to reach there, because we need to get the database from one side to integrate to have this omni-channel presence. So that's a journey for us to take. But at this point in time, omni-channel is there within the brick and mortar at this point in time. So yeah.
Excellent. So that really brings to the point where you're talking about a case of omni-channel when there is exclusivity in terms of the product offering, and it's not a land grab, but still from a customer standpoint, you want convenience. So with that, we'll bring in 𝐵𝑝iyush, especially to come in with another category of grocery. I think extremely offline category traditionally, and the online rendition of it has straight become quick commerce. Right? There's no e-commerce per se, it's straight quick commerce. So what more complexities when it comes to convenience to the customer or exposure of the right kind of offer management, pricing, or basically convenience?
Sure, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And obviously, as everybody is saying, we don't cater to the interesting categories which these two gentlemen do. We just do bare minimum grocery as our core category. And in that context, when you are doing some specialty retail, be it lifestyle or be it 𝐿𝐶𝐵𝐵 and there are pharma and all those other things, you have a very focused view about the needs of the customer. Yeah? So there is a focused need of the customer. So experimenting there within that focused parameter is quite easy. Whereas grocery as a category, and this is a known fact that the online penetration in grocery is the lowest as compared to any other category that we see. And the reason is it's difficult. Yeah? And the reason it is difficult is what they make in one transaction, I have to do 10 transactions with 10 times the number of items, with 10 times the number of complexity of the items, to serve the same need of the customer, which is the base need of the customer. Yeah? So their one order would mean 100 times higher complexity for me in terms of offering that customer experience. Yeah? And that is where the challenge lies. And when you do things at scale, because obviously your frequency of purchase on the other categories will be much lower as compared to your frequency of purchase. And that is why most of them started with this quick commerce and then suddenly realized that you can't do that, right? It's only, if you take 300, 400 years back, only kings and queens used to have everything delivered to their home and they were sitting, right? Now we want that. We want that experience that we sit there and everything comes to our home at the time with in the lowest price in the world. And that unfortunately is not going to happen. So the space is evolving. You started one extreme, which was saying we'll do it in 1 or 2 days, and then there is somebody who's saying we'll do it in 10 minutes. The convergence is happening. It will happen somewhere in the same day or the next day delivery models. But doing things at scale requires a very different perspective from a CX design. You have to think, unlike in our category, you have to start omni-channel as the core principle. If you don't start from an omni-channel concept, you will never be able to successful. If you try to marry these two channels to say that I have my online channel, I have my physical channel, I'll try to do some integrations and do that mix and match, it doesn't work. And that is where the whole customer experience falls flat. So you have to do ground up, work around the CX, around the omni-channel concept, so that you are able to deliver that experience to the customers.
Very well said. Thanks for those thoughts. I think you brought in some interesting points, which is customer experience, but to balance it with the need or the feasibility for a business. For example, I don't think anyone probably needs an impulse-based purchase in fashion or an iPhone in 10 minutes while it might still be available. Is there a need versus the feasibility of it? And there are providers for it. So that creates...
So there was a survey, I think there's a myth that people believe that grocery is a impulse category. It is not.
It's not.
It's not. It's a very, very planned category. Actually, when people were surveyed, there was a recent report. Only 10 to 12 people believe that they want anything within the 10 to 15 minutes.
Right.
So there is 80% to 85% people who still believe that it is a category which I need to plan for, which I know what I want to buy, and then come in. So it's a myth, actually.
Interesting. So yeah, sometimes tech could also spoil the customer requirements.
Not tech, VCs.
So yeah, that's where the money goes in the pocket of the customer.
They have good ideas.
So Neil, I'll come to you because from the enablement standpoint, I think we can share notes there, which is, what the customer may need, especially offline, might be much easier to orchestrate. But is tech a limitation or is it an enabler when it comes to omni-channel experiences?
It's an enabler and it's a limitation, both at the same time, actually, because you see that tech is really pacing up, right? Even, let's say, also here in the region, right, with all the AI and every, let's say, new channel that's coming up, you're expecting new automation in place. But I think then, if you look at the traditional organizations in the back ends, there's still a lot of legacy systems that are, or breaking or not adopting as quick as it should. So I think if we look at our developments also, if we look at those new technologies, we're actually using them to adopt legacy systems to new software to keep up with the speed of all this omni-channel, new channels, and well, the channels that I just mentioned there. As that's the only way that you're going to keep up speed. You see also that marketplaces are now also enabling new types of APIs that, let's say, let the automation scale. Right, that's also what we said, but because the customer experience is most important, you see that these channels also opened up their doors and then closed it again to be more curated, so that you create qualitative sellers that have good IT systems, good backend systems that can really also, let's say, offer what is needed to give that customer experience. Because it's not only your own customer experience, it's also the channel's customer experience that they're taking into account at the same time there.
Sure.
I'll just make a point, since we're talking about customer experience, and also you would ask, are there different cohorts who exist? So our recent experience, we've partnered, we have a beauty business with one of the largest masstige beauty retailers in the GCC, and we do makeup, and we've recently collaborated with a brand called 𝗫𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻. I don't know how many people in the audience know 𝗫𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻. 𝗫𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻 is actually one of the largest brands in the GCC right now. It is a part of 𝐁𝐮. It's the makeup brand of 𝐁𝐮, and launched only in 2019, has already become one of the biggest brands online. In the GCC, interestingly, they serviced, up till now, recently, they serviced the customer directly from China. So you have to wait about 7 to 10 days. Despite that, the awareness levels and the adoption levels are so high that the brand has shot to become one of the leading makeup brands in this market. Interestingly, the cohort that knows 𝗫𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻, loves 𝗫𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻, is all sub 20. We're finding that a lot of our older customers don't know the brand. And almost every young customer in the market knows and loves the brand. So to your point of very different cohorts existing, there is one which is digital, and they're not just because 𝗫𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻 is online or 𝗁 is online. They know it not only because of 𝗁, but because it is extremely active on TikTok and Snapchat and the relevant social media. So that's point number one. And with the same example, we have become the first partner for 𝗫𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻 in the world to launch 𝗫𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐻 in the brick and mortar space. And the response has been tremendous. We're suddenly seeing this cohort of younger customers, because our customer in our makeup business was relatively a little more mature. And we're suddenly finding a huge number of these young kids, anywhere between 12 to 20, flooding the stores. And that is the other point I wanted to make. Despite the fact that they have access and they are subscribing to this brand and business, they crave the physical experience, because it's not in beauty, especially, like in many other categories, it's not just about knowing. Despite the fact that you have all the influencers in the world and they are mind-boggling in terms of what they do on TikTok and on Snapchat, and the influencers telling you how to use the products and what the products are about, there is no substitute for you being able to touch, feel, try it yourself. So the customer experience element, no matter what the technology is it's very fundamental and it's kind of very visceral and it comes into play. But there is this harmonious coexistence. It is being created. There is a brand which has been born in the digital space in its entirety, subscribed to the customer who is largely a digital customer, moving very quickly to the physical space. I think it's a bit of a phenomenon, in response to the topic that we're discussing.
I think internally in the organization also, it's turned a lot of heads in saying, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're the kind of response that we as a brand are receiving on TikTok.
Yeah.
We just had the 𝐁𝐮𝐬𝐬 influencers work with us. We had a hashtag called #𝐁𝐮𝐬𝐬, lifestyle into 𝐁𝐮𝐬. In 20 days, we had 11 million views on TikTok.
Wow.
We never had that in our history. I'll confess. We were shocked, and most people in our organization didn't know the brand.
Sure.
But that's also knowing the demographic of the channel that you're really working on and optimizing your strategy for that channel, right? Because then, that's maybe sometimes you forget, is because you do have maybe older generation within your organization that needs to adopt the younger generation on these channels like TikTok. Instagram is already getting, let's say, a higher, or let's say a bit of older demographic there. But yeah, if you know those channels, if you really know what you're reaching there, and then adopt that strategy for every channel that you want in your mix, then you're going to see this kind of adoption taking place.
Sure. I'll come to you, Santosh. One last question. We've got a few minutes, and then we'll have Piyush kind of summarize it with thoughts for the team. So are you also at African Eastern in this 𝐴𝐿CO category looking at a segmentation of age and demography, although you don't collect data online, but just by knowing, is the offline stores more age bracket of customers, is the online a younger customer A? And yeah, I think you can answer that first for me.
So when it comes to our industry, unlike a retail for like a grocery or for that matter of a luxury brand, we have the 360-degree customer persona with us. So if Piyush is going to one of our stores and he's been...
I'm scared, huh?
And he is a whiskey drinker, just for an argument's sake. We know the entire history trial of how many times he has visited, what is his preferences, what industry he belongs to. We have the complete 360-degree persona. So based on, in fact, we can tell him also that, hey, based on your stock level, you're going to get out of stock very soon. We can send him a notification reminder that we have a new set of products which has come in for whiskey lovers. So customer persona is definitely a game changer for us. So for the demographics which you're asking about, yes, we do have by age, ethnicity, origin, the kind of profiling which we do for each customer, we do have that. So for all the three super categories, we define super categories as spirits, wines, and beers. That's our super categories. So we have a super category created, and we have the customers identified for each super category, and hey, we know which one, who belongs to which category, and we can target. Obviously, there is an age limit. There is some regulations to be followed. So it's all well within the regularities which we need to play around. So our boundaries are a bit tied up. So we make sure that we do not go beyond our boundaries, but within the boundaries of what is there possible, we reach out and we send notifications and we send our social media TikToks, which we have influencers, which we take care of that. But what we see is all this drive more and more our business into brick and mortar other than the online. So that's what we currently see, but probably it's going to change. Yeah.
Thank you. So Piyush, concluding notes on behalf of the entire panel, unified customer experience across touch points. Any quick tips for everyone around?
All I wanted to say is that we are still in the nascent stages of an omni-channel journey. So if people say that we have become omni-channel, I truly don't believe that. It's still early days. Technology is evolving, processes are evolving, brands are evolving. So doing personalization has been there as a concept for many years, but doing personalization at the scale still fails. It's a journey that has to be kind of run through with AI and data and things like that. So we are expecting that customer experience becomes a core of any offering of omni-channel in the future, and we are able to give good service to the customer. That's it.
Thank you so much, guys, for your time and insights. You've been an amazing panel.